Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Jacia Kornwise is a seasoned master embodied soul coach, transformational experience facilitator, and TEDx speaker with over 3 decades of expertise in fostering personal growth and resilience. As the author of The Love Ball Game, Embracing Yourself and Embodying Your Soul, she empowers individuals, couples, and groups through workshops, retreats, and events, utilizing her profound understanding of trauma recovery and grief. Holding a BA in English Literature from the University of Michigan, a master's in Integral Counseling Psychology from the California Institute of Integral Studies, and a master's shadow coaching degree. Jacia integrates diverse methodologies, including 5 rhythm dance, breathwork, and mindfulness into her practice. She leads the Satori Healing Center in Chino, California, and dedicates her life to her teenage son and puppy. Oh, you have a little puppy.
Ew, he's in the other room, not happy, but I didn't want him to start barking or whining.
Oh, yeah. So my cat, we have a new cat. He's maybe about 7 months old now, but he literally will start knocking on the door when I'm doing podcasts, like, no, kitty, no. I just want to be here, but I know he will just jump right on my shoulder or hang out here and just like play with the wires here. And I'm just like, no, kitty, no. We'll give you some love a little bit later. So I love all furry animals. So well, thank you so much, Jacia, for being on my show today. And what is one thing about you that you love about yourself?
Oh, I love my courage. I love my courage, which was not always there. I was pretty timid. If you had met me as a little kid, you would not think I would have done the things that I've chosen to do or made it through the things I have. And I think courage is in all of us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Courage.
Yeah.
That's what's coming up right now.
Yeah. Yes. And so you mentioned the importance of getting in touch with our bodies and connecting to our intuition. Can you share your approach to helping individuals achieve this connection?
Oh gosh. Really, I think most people who are suffering or hurting don't realize that those are 2 key elements that have them off track. So many people are stuck in their minds, or they're grasping at something they think they want, or repetitive patterns or addictions, and they're not listening to that little voice inside. Or if they hear it, they push it down, they ignore it, they pretend it's not there. And a lot of times we've learned to push it away. We've learned to repress it because we've either watched generations of people from our family lines or around us do the same to survive, to develop the coping strategies they did. And so we're just kind of unconsciously repeating, not listening to that voice. Or it's been dangerous to listen. There's been a lot of reasons we don't listen. And a lot of times it's because we've been traumatized. So we've had to leave our bodies. We've had to disassociate, right? If we get hurt, violated, abused, bullied, emotionally, mentally, or physically or sexually, there are times we literally have to separate what we think and know from what we think from what we actually know, and what we feel from feeling it in our bodies, and we take off. And so if we're disconnected to our bodies, we cannot hear our intuition, because our intuition lives inside our bodies. And some people would say spirit whispers into that.
Yeah, and that was what I was going through with drinking. I completely numbed myself, so I wasn't able to really get to know myself. What was in my head was all of the negative thoughts, emotions, feelings. Like even my dialogue to myself was negative, and I never got in tune with my spirit. And I'm just like discovering now that I'm sober. Wow, what amazing. You have like a best friend and a support system inside you there. And your spirit is there to guide you. And, the process of releasing emotions like shame and anger, grief, and loss is definitely a crucial part of the growing experience. And how do you actually guide people through this process? And what kind of challenges do you see they face?
Gosh, that's such a big question, but it's a really important one, because so many people have been shamed around feeling in the first place, right? Just to show emotions, um, came with a stigma. You're bad, you're wrong, you're weak. What's wrong with you for feeling? Get over it, right? All those voices that you're told. So there's that, right? And then, there's stigmas on anger. You shouldn't be angry. It's wrong to be angry. And anger is also how we learn our boundaries. Like there's a need for righteous anger. there's a need because it teaches us how to say no, or, when to say yes, when to say no. It's a regulator, but we have so much shame because anger so often has been shown to us in violent ways or passive aggressive ways, and we never want to emulate that. So I think a lot of times, whether that's shame, people are afraid to feel it because they're embarrassed or pushing things down, or anger because they've been told it's wrong to be angry, or good people aren't angry, or it's rude to be angry. Then these feelings get mushed inside, right? You mentioned fear, right? We're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to know how to get through things. And there's a lot of things that are hard to figure out. And those feelings need to have a safe space. And I like to, it depends if I'm working individually with someone. I have coaching courses with music and dance and meditations and visualizations and lessons. I have individual processes with people. But the big thing is really building a safe relationship where they start to know that, first of all, there's going to be no judgment here. And then I'm going to help them do that. I'm literally, sometimes I'll be in there helping them move and teaching them how to move their breath through their body, how to make the noises until we fake it till we make it, literally till it comes through. Sometimes it's just being a mirror for someone where I can see a little spark of it and they push it down, and it's bringing them back into that present moment and just helping them very slowly titrate that in a way that doesn't flood their system, just enough. So it really depends on where the person's at, but there's numerous body practices, presencing practices, grounding practices, and movement and dance practices that I love to use, as well as just, coaching and working with the shadow and understanding that. So there's just, a big amount of tools for those questions, and they're so needed, but a lot of it does come from being able to express it. Otherwise it gets stuck.
Yes. There was this one lady I met, I forget her name, but she's also expresses, I forget what she's called, but it's like theater, and you're really kind of being theatrical and expressing your emotion through movement, but
Yes.
it's like kind of like poetry at the same time. There's singing and there's like kind of like not rapping because but lyrics to be lyrical and rhyming. It's so neat. And she actually did it. It was so she was on my podcast. I think it's Braveheart, something Braveheart, I forget her name. Oh my gosh, amazing flow. I'm like, how does she do that? But then the movements and everything, I was like, oh, I need to learn this. And I think the movement is so important because it's like even me just doing this, I'm feeling good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. I mean, I love to teach people how to just check into their body parts, because if you wake up in the morning and you literally move, just isolate and check in. I even have a class where we do this, where we check into different parts of our body and listen to their messages. You're going to be like, wow, my arms are carrying a lot of shame today, or anger, and you release it. Oh, my belly is carrying some fear, and you breathe into it, and literally just regulating each body part and moving it through and letting it express is like an immediate clearing. We so often think we need to just get up and get going from the mental state, but the body needs check-ins, and every part of it has a message for you.
That's right. And that's why it's so important
Makes me
to
want to get up and do that for you right now.
right. I know. It's all late for us, and we're just like, yay, we're ready to go for the day. But because that's very important because people have a lot of like desk jobs and computer jobs, and they're just stuck on the computer all day. As human beings, we're not meant to be staying still all day. We're meant to be moving constantly.
Yeah.
And I know if I don't move, I start getting stiff and angry and moody. And I start like kind of like snapping at who's ever around me. And it's not necessary. It's because I haven't like released whatever energy was like stuck in me. So I've been taking, you'll be proud of me, Jacia. Okay. I've been taking time, stepping away from my computer and starting to do some stretching and breathing and just having that time by myself. So I'm doing it now. I'm doing
I
it.
love it. It's absolutely necessary. I sometimes tell my clients to like set the alarms on their clocks for certain breaks, and it's their 5-minute breath break, or it's their 5-minute dance break, and alternate them so that they're or it's your 5 minute sing a song break. Sing, dance, breathe, go out in nature, stick your feet, into the ground and hug a tree, like whatever it is, but just 5 minutes of sensations, feelings, breath, movement changes the disposition, the whole neurobiology in the body, and you're just back more present.
It reminds me of all those Tony Robbins seminars, I think, where he starts having people like jump up and down. I think I was in like some type of real estate seminar when he was there. This was like in 2006. This is a long time ago. And I remember we're all jumping up and down. Yeah. And he's all, well, see how you guys feel? We're like, we're feeling great. So it is important.
You'll see that at any motivational, speaker that, they get people moving for a reason. It brings,
Right.
oxytocin comes up, first of all, right? It opens our neural pathways to joy and presence and aliveness and possibility.
Yeah, and we don't need to be professional dancers in order for us to move, right? We just kind of like go with the rhythm of whatever. Like, what is your favorite song when you want to like release energy and move your
That's
body?
so funny. That's like, there's quite a few people when I get a podcast, so what's your favorite song? And I never can pick. Maybe it's because I'm a Libra and I like everything. Maybe it's because I'm a 5 rhythms teacher. So I have so much music that I'm constantly making playlists, and not only making playlists, but playlists to every type of music. So slow, choppy, chaotic, fluid, magical, still, like I like it
Yeah,
all. And I like every single song, because one of the things I've learned is that if there's any kind of movement or sound you don't like, you need to find a way to dance with it or move with it, because that's just like in life. There's always an outside soundtrack. There's always something you don't like that's happening. And so the challenge is, how do I get my body and move and find my rhythm, my beat to whatever's happening? So I try and have no preference and just get into all of it. And the more I clear my preferences, it's like the more you open to loving life at any moment, whatever kind of song or beat it is.
that is so neat. Now let's talk about your 5 rhythm movement. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So the 5 rhythms was founded by this magical mama, Gabrielle Roth, whose birthday was pretty recently. She's passed by now, but she trained bazillion people all around the world, wrote a lot of books. But I was teaching something called the Rhythms of Acceptance. I'd always just been teaching people like themselves. And then I ended up meeting her son and another friend who were like, you need to meet my mom. And as soon as we all met, I was like, oh, these people are doing what I do. And she's got wisdom and maps. I'm going to study with her. So I joined in there and did her teacher training. And the 5 rhythms is an incredible movement practice. It's less about teaching anyone how to dance, but it's teaching how to free yourself to be able to move. And it really is a movement meditation practice. It really is a way to finding your own ground, your own freedom, your own inner voice, breaking free from whatever stress is there and finding your way to we go through 5 rhythms from that particular practice. So it starts with flowing, where we start to tune into our bodies, grounding, our receptivity, how we open and close to situations, kind of flowing movements. It goes with the feminine energy of the mother, and then which is also the foundation of how we are with our bodies. And then it goes into staccato, which is the masculine rhythm, sort of that father energy, if you will. And it's about lines and angles and yeses and nos and emotions and boundaries and being able to express and articulate like that. And then there's the rhythm of chaos, which is usually the craziest beats per minute dancing, but that's about letting go of the mind and the dichotomy of right and wrong and good and bad and should and shouldn't. We just shake it all up. And often, each of these rhythms also have an emotional association. So when you're moving through the feminine, there's a shadow emotion of fear that you work with and ground out of. When you're working with the masculine, it's a shadow emotion or a clarifying emotion of anger and boundaries, which you clarify with chaos, which I was just talking about, the shaking it all out. When you really let go, it's like you let go and then the grief can come through. It's a release. So it's letting go of all the dichotomy, all the war inside, the monkey mind that we were talking about, the thoughts that just are attacking you. It's like a breaking through from the head and entering the body. It's the release. And then there moves into the rhythm of lyrical, which, so that if you look at the 5 rhythms, there's a wave structure where the music is starting slow, it builds, it goes up, peaks at chaos, and then it comes back into lyrical, which is like an open, expansive rhythm. And theoretically, it associates itself with the rhythm of maturity, being able to actually move through life as the shapeshifter in present moment rather than addiction, with clarity and learn how to find out what our true joy is. And true joy is different than just like being high or being blissed out, because it means we've already gone through those other rhythms of grounding and articulating and releasing. And now we can actually find joy because we've grieved. We can find the joy of a single moment being present, and then it moves, kind of arcs down. The music will go more slow and it takes us into stillness, which is sort of the rhythm of, well, very clearly stillness, right? It's slowing down. It's opens into the mystery and the sacred unknown, tuning into our breath and our prayers. It's a magical movement formula that has so many levels and dimensions. I only touch the surface, but it's a map I use all the time in my work and absolutely love it.
Wow. I'm just thinking about like Spotify playlists that you would have in each of those rhythms movements. The chaos would be
Exactly.
like my EDM. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go, go.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I love like dance music. And so I'm always like, it's interesting because my husband is like more like likes the melody, the slower beats. Me, I'm like dun 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 dun.
Yeah. You want to get it out. You want to get that chaos out, shake out all the toxins in the body, release, release, release.
Right. And I noticed like yeah, for example, like if I'm waking up and I'm like, oh, today I don't feel the greatest, and so but as soon as I get in my car, I change that. And then I'm not just driving, I'm just driving. I'm rolling down the windows, I'm cranking up my music, I'm enjoying my ride. Even if there's traffic and slows down a little bit, then I can still enjoy myself.
Well, and it's such a perfect metaphor for what I teach, which is like you've landed in your body.
Yeah.
You're in the present, you're in the moment, and you're allowing yourself to be you, authentically you. No one's watching, you are being you. And that's ultimately what I want to teach people to be able to do with their lives, with their souls, is to dance themselves free, to literally open to that freedom beyond the trauma. And I've lived through a lot of trauma. So to really, really understand that it's possible to still find joy and freedom after trauma. And dance is an exquisite piece of a whole map, of course, of healing modalities.
No wonder
Maybe.
why my mom used to say when she was younger, when I was younger too, obviously, as a little girl, that she's like, yeah, I need to go dancing. And I'm like, she's like, that's my therapy. I'm like, okay. She would go out dancing with her girlfriends,
Well,
and
and
just to dance. Yeah.
yeah, she knew it. It's natural. We've been using dance throughout all times and all ages, right? To move through big feelings. And now we can really see that, with the body keeps the score, and Dr. Bessel van der Kolk and some of his work and some of the studies that have been shown it's now been finally proven dance is therapeutic, genuinely therapeutic. In fact, it's one of the best tools for trauma there is, which is
Right.
really exciting.
So
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Now, can you actually share the inspiration behind your book, The Love Ball Game, Embracing Yourself and Embodying Your Soul, and how your personal journey influenced its creation? I
I'm
love
so
it. You
excited
look so
about
cute there. I love
this.
that.
Thank you. This book I started writing it really when I was 27 after I was a victim to a horrific crime and rape experience, kidnapping, and it, my boyfriend at the time was like, my name is Jill at the time. I went by Jill more, but Jacia, you need to write. And I'd always been writing in my journals, my dreams. I've always had so much going on in my inner world. So it was just time to write. And I knew from that point that I was going to definitely at some point write out this story and so much more, tracking all the way through my awarenesses in childhood. I was always kind of like a very deep inner world person. And that's when it started. But I mean, I wrote for decades. I turned into short stories. I think I'd write to everybody, I'm shall we do it? And then I would say, no, this is just for me. But it wasn't really till about 4 years ago, where some massive things happened in my life. A lot of the shape of my life changed. And I found myself creating a lot of online programs based on me remembering the potency of, I'm in a dance studio. I built a studio into my healing center and I use it all the time. But particularly during COVID, a lot of my group stuff, I had to mellow down. And I found myself daily just using my practice to get connected to myself by myself every morning. It reminded me of what I did after the crime that helped me launch my healing exponentially, which was I rented a dance studio in San Francisco and I went and I danced every single day and I moved my emotions. And, I tried all sorts of things at the time, therapy, somatic experiencing, meditation, but none of it was finding the breakthroughs emotionally that I needed quite the way dance was doing. So it took me back there and it just made me realize it's time. It's time to get this book out. I landed a TEDx talk at just about the exact same time, launched these courses. It was like, I needed to be ready. I'm seasoned mid-50s woman. And
You look great. You look like you're in your late 30s.
thank you so much. I say it, I'm always like, should I tell people? Because I love that I feel youthful and I feel very alive from all these practices. And that's the truth is, I wanted to launch this book when I had when I felt like I really had broken through, like that I could say 100%, like I'm so well and I'm thriving at the level. And I'd always been doing incredible work in my communities and leading things, but there are pieces of me that still weren't totally 100% where I wanted to be before I published. So past few years, I had so many breakthroughs, and it was time. It was just time, and it just kind of came through. And so that's why it's such a big deal for me. And now I'm like, oh, I have another one. I have another one. And I'm just ready to go. But it took a while. I had to be ready to be 100% visible, all of my shadows, all of my life. So if it got really big, which I think it could, it sounds strange, but I have a lot of powerful stories in there and tools. And I thought, I want to have zero shame left. I want to just be good with all my weirdness, all my strangeness, all my failures, all my quirkiness, all my insecurities, and just be like, yeah, that's me. I'm okay with my imperfections,
I love that. Yeah, it does take a while. Yes. Now, how does the Love Ball game serve as a metaphor for the journey of self-discovery and self-love? And what can readers actually expect to learn from engaging with this concept?
Yeah. So the Love Ball game, the subtitle is Embracing Yourself and Embodying Your Soul. And the Love Ball game came from me, a talk I wrote where I called it Strike Out or Listen In. And I was sharing some stories about 3 strikes. There were 3 major horrible strikes when I didn't listen to my intuition that my body was telling me. And each one was worse than the next. And the final one, I almost lost my life from it. And I realized, and then later in my life, I listened very totally and I saved my life and I called it my home run. And I was like, I didn't strike out. And then I was like, oh, it was like a ball game, but it was a feminine version because it had many, many cycles of learning. And it was about learning to love myself. And what does it mean to really fall in love with your life as the true romance, not seeking it in someone else, which we all naturally want to. And I certainly did, right? We're born to want to find this quote other half, right? But when you actually find it within the other person you attract, it's a different kind of relationship. So the Love Ball game is about completely embodying and finding the power to get through your trauma. I have tools in there. I have exercises after every chapter, all sorts of kinds of things from suggestions and possibilities. I have memoir stories and I have combination of just teaching and psychology and stories from my clients. So it's a journey. It'll take someone on a self-discovery journey, hopefully to really, really get them to be unafraid of the dark spots, of the really dark thoughts we have at our deepest, hardest times, where you really don't know if you want to continue to live. You really don't know if you can get through this addiction, this relationship, this scenario, whatever this is. It really shows how. And then helps you plan a life and leads you to start to understand what it means to not only like learn to listen to yourself and embody yourself, but actually take action to change things that totally then allow you to direct your life and helping guide you through those steps. So you really feel like you are the director of your life, the architect of your love. You are the true romance you came here to live. So, which I believe is the soul's journey.
That's so awesome. Yes, I have to read that book.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about taking action because there's a lot of self-help books and then turns into shelf help.
Uh-huh.
You're right. So, but when you have action steps in your book, it's like, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you're just getting closer to being or finding tuning into who you are as a spiritual being.
Absolutely. Well, it's great because you can read the book and just do the book process and you'll get so much. And then I also offer online courses. One's called Rise Up and Dance, where you can do a 3-month program that you don't even need me. It's a private program. It's all on videos. I've got all sorts of stuff. Or you could do what I call the Lead the Love Ball game, which is a 6-month course that includes 2 other programs and coaching sessions twice a month. And it really is going to like launch you into getting your first home run.
Wow, that's amazing.
Or wherever you are in your process of knowing what it means to have the home runs you're looking for in your life. And it's funny, I was like, why did you name a book about baseball? You're not a ball girl, you're a dancer. I was like, because I wanted to surprise people, because I thought, I don't want people who just think, oh, this is about dance. It's really not at all about dance. So I wanted to make sure it was going to appeal to all sorts of people. And I
Right.
thought appeals, cute little balls appeal.
Yeah, I love that. And I like your red outfit too. On the book.
Oh,
It's
thank
cute.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. So throughout your career, you've worked with individuals, you've worked with groups, and then also couples. Can you share
Yeah,
it?
and companies
Oh, and companies too.
and private retreats and yeah, all sorts of things. So it turned more into companies and stuff over the couple of years. I got hired by a lot of like schools and businesses to teach things around anxiety and self-care during that time. So it became more that way, but it was mostly with groups, classes, individuals, and couples for a very long time, and retreats.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Could you share any like transformative experience or success story that stood out to you during those?
Yeah, gosh, so many. I mean, honestly, like what was so interesting to me. So I had for a while, I had my kind of counseling, coaching business very separate from my movement people and practices. And what I started doing as I became more and more clear that like these needed to be integrated, is I would kind of subtly plant seeds and really invite people to join, not only in the internal sessions, but in some of the group work and some of the movement work. And I had people just start to refer to me as like the dance lady and Chico, which was really funny because my identity for a long time was I was a therapist. And I realized, oh, I'm kind of a embodied soul coach. I'm doing all of these different things. I wanted the whole enchilada going. But this one beautiful woman named Maria who came and took my 12-week movement course, which was based in, it was, I called it the rhythms of acceptance, but it was very much based in the 5 rhythms practice, and along with my own max kind of woven. And she would say, God, she was a survivor and she had been doing work for, I don't know, 7 years with therapists. And she said in 12 weeks, her life changed, and she had more breakthroughs in 12 weeks than she did in all those years of therapy. And she was not the one to say that. So I think,
Wow.
and I will watch people come in, whether that's in a group setting or even one-on-one, and their whole way, their body moves, their posture, their ability to believe in themselves, their confidence, it just changes when you're in a place where you're going to be loved and accepted exactly as you are, and that you don't have to do it perfectly. I'm the queen of imperfection. So I just love people to be their goofy selves, and also to feel safe to grieve deeply. I really believe in the power of movement for grief. And I've taught classes very specifically around like the dance of grief and moving with that. And I've seen like people who had stuffed down losses, whether it was of their pets or their friends or a grandparent or a lover, that they never fully grieved. And it just opens up, and all this emotion they've been there for years just starts coming out through the movement. And then they're able to finally move on. And whether that's to finally start a new relationship or get a new pet or start taking care of themselves again, it's like there's all this locked energy that if it's not let out, it sinks us inward. And so it opens that up.
Yes, I was at in San Diego, I believe this was last October, was doing a breathwork session,
Nice.
and it was really nice. It was called hypno breathwork, and there
Uh-huh.
was some sound bath sound or sound bath, I think it's called.
Yeah, I found out. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sound in the background. And I remember, I was on the floor, I had a little my eye mask on and everything, and I'm used to doing the breath breathing, and then sometimes I would feel the tingles, but the lady next to me just was like screamed and started like cried, and then one of the instructors had to go in, and I'm thinking in my head, she must have just had that held in and she had to release it. So this is like a good cry.
Yeah.
And like to release
Absolutely.
whatever was stuck inside there. And people were just experiencing different things in that workshop. And but for me, I always feel a little bit more clarity.
Yeah.
Whenever I do breath work, I have more clarity. I'm just like my spirit tells me what to do next.
That's perfect. I lead breathwork, transformative breathwork workshops as well. And when you describe that, it is really interesting because sometimes people need to let tons of old emotion out. And sometimes it's very much like a wisdom where they get guides, clarity. Sometimes it's just energy. It's different every time. And sometimes, like I've had people I've worked with who've done breathwork for me for probably over 15 years here. And
Oh, wow.
they started by just having like presence experiences, and then they went through a phase of emotion, and then there was a phase of like information, and then now it's just a phase of very physical. And so I watch people go through like chunks of time more than the experience changes. I think as we evolve, we need different pieces in our recipe. So I love
Yes.
clarity.
Yes, but I notice sometimes my I don't know if I'm breathing wrong or something. My cheeks get too tingly. I'm like, am I hyperventilating or something? I'm like, I don't know what's going
That's
on.
part of it's natural. It's part of what happens. I sometimes tell my students that rather than passing out, we're passing in.
Ah.
We're like passing inwards. But you will self-regulate on that, which is great because you're really in charge.
Right. Yeah. And then having to listen to your inner voice too. And I always feel like that's essential for directing well, at least my life anyway, into the dreams that the dream life, I should say. Can you actually elaborate on how one can actually improve their listening skills to better understand their own inner guidance?
Yeah. So do you ever have a time when you are going through your life and you say one thing to someone, but on the inside it falls flat? So you can
Mm,
start to feel that separation between what you're saying out there and how you're actually really internally feeling.
yeah.
That's your first guide to know that you're not listening to yourself. So if you
Mm,
ever are in an experience where you're not feeling totally at home as you're speaking, rather than doubt that there's something wrong with you, understand that that's a gap between your action and your inner guidance, right? And so the more you start to not doubt, but actually look for why is that?
mm,
Am I not feeling connected to this person? Am I acting because I think I need to be this way to please someone? Am I really angry, but I'm smiling over it, right? So to start to trust whatever that information is, the more we do that, the more we allow ourselves to drop into our inner listening. Likewise, being in our bodies, I always like to make sure, like even as I'm talking right now, I feel my foot, I've got my cross-legged, I can feel my foot against my thigh, I can feel my fingers tingling, I can feel my like the center of my belly talking, I can feel my throat. So I know I'm grounded in myself. I'm not up here thinking. And I'm talking about grounding because our inner voice um, lives when we're grounded. We operate from when we're grounded. But the thing is when we're disconnected, it comes in like from a dissociated state. So sometimes we'll hear a voice, we'll hear a whisper, we'll hear a guide, and we'll think, what was that? It's you. But you're just not home yet. Right. But when we're home in ourselves, we're directed very naturally by our bodies. But that disassociation that happens when we've been in addictive patternings, when we've been hurt, violated, which usually brings those forward, or just systems of being trained that way. It is harder to hear our inner voice. Tracking our dreams is really powerful. I always like to say, give a pause before you go to sleep and as you wake up to listen. There's always quiet whispers between the time of leaving and moving from the almost falling asleep into the body and coming back. There's a lot of information that's trying to get in. And rather than just jumping out of bed and running to the day, take a moment to breathe, put your hands on your heart and your belly, and just ask yourself, what do I need today? No, what do I need today, this morning? What do I need to say to myself tonight to make myself feel a little more at home? Like I often just tell myself, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Good night, sweetheart. Sometimes I sing the song I sing to my son, to myself if I'm feeling down, and I mother myself if no one's mother, you know. But those kind of self-care things begin to show us that we are willing to listen to our inner voice because to whatever extent we are still in self-hate, we're pushing away trusting ourselves. So I don't know, there's so many ways in on the question you just asked me. I hope some of that was helpful.
Oh, yes,
I
it
could keep
was
going and going.
totally made it so clear. Yes. It was interesting when you brought up the voices. I heard, I can hear my tune is um can get more frequency. So I actually heard one time I was asking, please help me figure out what I'm going to purchase for my sister and my mom for Christmas because I didn't know what they would want and they weren't helpful and they didn't tell me. And
Yeah.
then that was in my head. And then I remember I just got up, it was the middle of the night. You know, my husband was somewhat awake, somewhat not. I had to go use the restroom. I came back and then I sat down and I heard oils. And I was like, did you say something, honey? He's all, no, I didn't say nothing. I said, Okay. And
Yes,
it
that is
wasn't me. I'm like,
no,
oh, that spirit guide is really there.
yeah.
Okay.
No, 100%. I heard spirit guides for a very long time. I still do sometimes, but those voices, sometimes they are ancestors or spirit guides, or whatever you want to call your higher self. But in my experience, it is our intuition ultimately that we're hearing, as well. And as I talked about, trauma disconnects us. So sometimes I love that you prayed for it. You're like, asked and you shall receive the information that's already in you. But we're in so much anxiety with our busy minds and our beliefs that we don't know, that we forget to ask what we do know. And then there's a little voice whispering down, but honey,
Yeah, so I think I was like, oh wow.
Not crazy. You're not crazy. I want you to listen to my tech talk, because it's all about me hearing voices.
Oh really? Yeah, I have to
Yeah,
hear
so there's
that.
the TEDx talk and then the tag one there. So it's all about listening to those voices and what happens when you don't. And I talk a lot about why those voices, so often we don't listen to them, because we are told that we're crazy for hearing voices, that we're stupid, we're making things up, that we're going to having a breakdown, that we're mentally ill. And it can go all the way to those points because we're not listening. And it's like generational training of not listening. But we have so much wisdom guiding us.
I know they'll mark us as like weird. They'll mark us as like, yes, you're mentally ill. But no, it's just actually a beautiful thing. We're more in tune with our spirit and our intuition. I'm wondering, thinking back to like my outpatient programs, when people who I actually, because I had dealt with a lot of anxiety back in the day,
Yeah,
and people that I was surrounded, I like had bipolar, they were depressed, and some were schizophrenic, and they would
sure.
hear voices. But then now I'm thinking like, I think they're just fine. I mean, like, maybe they're being guided in some way, and then they just didn't know how to take it, and then then someone said, "Hey, you need to take this medication." Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
very
sad.
sad. Unfortunately, there is a lot of that does happen. And
Mm,
a lot of people's mental illnesses are just because they've never found the right support,
yeah.
been through those kind of depths of darkness and found a way to actually spiritually light up and get through it. Sometimes
Yeah.
medication is needed because the split's gotten so far down. But
Mhm.
there's always some truth in the voice. There's always something there, and so it's about understanding to what extent and what that voice represents. Is it a symbol? Is it, because it can get symbolized, but yeah.
Right, right. Yes, and speaking, so I did watch your TED Talk, TEDx, TEDx, sorry, with that nice outfit, the red outfit, yeah, and so you are actually a survivor of multiple traumas, and you had experienced grief. Now, how have these experiences shaped your approach to resilience and embodied resourcefulness in both your life and your coaching practice?
Yeah, it's just kind of 100%. I've had a lot of different experiences of loss and of grief from early on in my life, a lot of traumas and death of my brother, and so many fathers, so many, and crimes, and just we all have spectrums of experience, and some of us have more than others. And I think the consistency of the amount determined that I better well find. I mean, there was kind of two choices: I don't want to be here anymore, or I find a way through. And there were moments, where you could feel that question mark there. And I wasn't even aware, because I always identified as someone who wanted to be here. But there were moments when that would disappear. And, a lot of what I had to do was fall in love with my imperfections, fall in love with my grief, fall in love with the ways I was different and felt different than people around me, which may or may not have been true, because lots of people suffer in silence. But if you don't have people who have the emotional ability or capacity to really meet you, it can be extremely isolating. So seeking out support, I started my journey receiving therapy since I was 19 and doing all sorts of work. So my journey started early, and I also became a therapist shortly after. I was very much catapulted from thinking I was going to teach English and write, which actually has come back in some ways. But it's like, oh, I guess I'm going on this journey over here to find a reason to want to be on this planet and help others to do the same after suffering. And yeah, so it's built the very trauma itself. When you get through it, when you recognize that all the pain also gives you some of the greatest gifts of your life, if you transcend not transcend, because you don't want to transcend it. If you transform through it, you can also find that you do know what true joy is. You do appreciate, like, I'm loving this moment with you. This isn't work. This is total play. I'm loving seeing your face. I'm loving this conversation because I'm so with a person who's so very alive. So we feel the aliveness and be able to feel alive and energized is such a gift. And so you recognize the beauty that life has, and you want to help others find it. And you want to show people, I certainly do, that there are ways to get through. And I feel so grateful that I found ways to not only get through, but to thrive, to truly love my life, and I probably experience a lot more joy and freedom than most people do. So I want to share my tools and share myself, and hope that, it can inspire and touch others and give them strength and, ways to go into their own depths and feel like I'm not alone. Sharing
Absolutely.
brings resilience too. Because you share
Absolutely.
it until you're ready.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now, I'm sure you've inspired a lot of our listeners, and they're like, I need to meet her. How can our listeners follow you, find you, work with you, all that good stuff?
Well, thanks for asking. So they
Mm.
can jump on my enroll page, or go to www.jaciakornwise.com and jump on my newsletter. If you sign up for it, there's actually a little freebie right now where you can write me and jump into one of my Zoom online morning wake up and dance Thursday morning classes, and come meet me in person with some people. It's like an online combined dance, and just share an hour together. So we could start there. You could grab my book, get to know me here. I have coaching sessions, I have packages, I have breathwork online, breathwork in person, dances online, dances in person. I speak, I work at, I'm hired in for places to talk and share, so many ways. But yeah, follow me on Facebook, Jacia Kornwise. Follow me on Instagram, Jacia Kornwise, LinkedIn. Be happy to connect and meet and share. Thank you for asking. It was so good meeting you.
Oh, I know. It's so nice to meet you. And I was just thinking, because I was talking to so I work at the Four Seasons. I've been there forever, like almost 17 years, because I'm in the spa business and I'm a massage therapist. But I only work there once a week now, since I've, have my little business going on and everything, podcasting, and of course, mom and wife and everything else.
Yeah.
And I was asking my manager, I said, because we're supposed to have like wellness workshops at the Four Seasons. And then I was asking, like, where do you find people to do like yoga and this, that? And she's like, oh, we just hire so people that we actually know. I said, but if you know anybody, I'm like, maybe I will just invite you because you are in California. It's not
I
too far.
am fabulous. Yeah,
Palo Alto.
let's talk about that. Okay, we could come up with
Yeah,
something really
I'll have to
fun.
talk to my manager just so you can and then I think your room, I don't know what deal they work out there. I'm sure the room will be accommodated for you. But anyway, I was like, that'd be exciting for you to show us what you do, and then so we can feel good and take on the workday even better.
Love it. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk, see what's
Oh,
possible.
yay. How exciting. Well, lastly, for those just actually starting the journey of self-discovery and healing, what would be your top advice or starting point to begin this profound journey for them?
Starting point, if they're wanting to do
Begin this
that
journey. Yeah.
about, I would see which piece, ask themselves first, what piece do I most need support with? Do I need to be heard and listened to? Do I need to move things through my body? Do I need a one-on-one connection? Do I need to read a book to feel safe? Do I need a course to just define which point in the journey feels like the right place to start? Because I think everyone's at a different point, but you're saying if they're at the very beginning, I think the
Just
biggest
starting.
thing is to ask deep down, what happens if you don't start? Where will you be if you don't take this scary step? And ask yourself, what are you afraid to do and why? And if the answer is, I don't want to spend money, what if I don't get anything? You will get exactly as much as you give to it, because I don't know anyone who's taken amazing risks who hasn't benefited bazillion times from it. It's by not taking the risk, not taking the chance to stretch, that we stay stuck. So I'd say the first thing is to say, I am willing to risk trying something new. And I am willing to learn to love myself, whatever that's going to take. So I think maybe the very first step is willingness. Willingness to take a risk, willingness to step in, and then let your heart and inner guidance say, what's pulling? And say yes, say yes.
Oh, I love that. Willingness. Okay. Because it is the willingness. Yeah. That's what I learned. I started growing when I started stepping out of my comfort zone and started getting uncomfortable. Once I started
Yeah.
getting uncomfortable, then overcame that. I'm like, what's next? Let me try something new.
I'm willing to be uncomfortable because it's actually really uncomfortable where I am right now. So how could it get worse, right?
Hey, there you go. Yeah, totally right. Well, thank you so much, Jacia, for being on my show. Do you have any like last thoughts or any last words you would like to share?
Well, I just am loving right now that you're, it's one of the things that drew me to you is your things to shine within, and I've got right my back here, rise up, dance, shine within. And that's really what this is about, is that from within, the light is there, and to believe, even if you feel so dark, there were times I didn't know that there was light in there left. And those are the times where we need the extra support and the extra tools, because we can't figure everything out on our own. If we could, we wouldn't be on a planet full of other humans.
Right.
We'd be in a cave.
Oh, you're so right, right? Yeah. Yes. So rise up and dance and shine within. Thank you so much, Jacia. It's been an honor.
I feel the same way. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here.